Hey everybody, we're going to be going through free Qlab, which is what I want you to use to start. There is Pro Audio, Pro Video, and Pro Lighting, which is all $600 each, but that is the theater's job to pay for that, and until I am sitting in the venue, hooked up to all the speakers in all the right places, it is not essential to unlock all the trimmings and fancy shit that Qlab can do. Alright, when I start up Qlab, you'll get this screen of recent workspaces. There's my pre-programming from my summer show, which was World War II bombs and army guys yelling, and my April show, which consisted of bitch slap sound effects, laser guns, and lots of MIDI triggers to the light board. We are going to start from scratch here, so let's open up a new workspace. You got this window. It's blank. Let's make it bigger. We can just start dropping audio files and telling them what to do, but there's some housekeeping stuff to do first. Click on the little gear icon on the bottom right. So a default that I cannot stand is auto number cues. Here's what that looks like. In a theater setting, I want to choose the cue numbers. I don't want them to be chosen for me. It is especially hard when I want placeholders that I am not sure about or want to rearrange the order of my sound effects. So no, Qlab, do not make cue numbers for me starting with 1. No, thank you. Delete the cues and redrag them in. I like to go by 5s or 10s. It gives me room to add stuff in between if I'm expecting a complicated sequence. Next, if I was in the theater or just hooking up to more than 2 outputs because I have a Pro Audio license, I would need to change my output settings. That is here. It is set to system output, which is my MacBook Pro speakers or my headphones. This is exactly what I want, so I will leave it. I will show you the version in class of what it looks like with Pro Audio and the studio speakers. If you click on Edit, this is where you would start routing your speakers, but it is grayed out. Pro Audio license is required to edit patch, so there's one paywall example. Next up, I want to set my audio template. Click on Audio, then Levels. You can default to having volume come out at 0 or Unity. However, I recommend making things silent to start and leveling it out manually. Here's why. Forgetting to do this will burn you in a theater setting because let's say I drop in a new cue and forget to level it out appropriately and I hit go. It will scare the shit out of everybody in the room because it will be really loud coming out of all the speakers at full at the same time. So if you default to silent, this mistake will be much less tragic. I also like to personally put the master down in egg 10 because it gives me some fader room. That is optional, that's just part of my own workflow. So these numbers down here that say cross points represent your left and your right portions of a stereo audio file. By default, left goes to output 1, which would also send, by default, to the left side of your headphones or the left side of your laptop speakers. Right goes to output 2, which defaults to the right side of my headphones or laptop speakers. You could swap them. In this type of setup, you wouldn't want to. But in a larger setting, a lot of the time, you don't want just left information coming out of certain speakers. You would need both channels. An example would be a stereo track of traffic sounds coming out of a speaker sitting on the floor backstage behind the set. You would want both left and right information coming out of that box, or you've lost half of your audio. Another thing to do would be gangs. Let's say you wanted to link these faders so they move at the same time. In the gang mode, which makes it kind of greenish, if you match these two boxes, let's say A and A, they get a color designation and now they're stuck together. It works with any label, really, as long as they match. Let's try ham and ham. They are still chained. And if they were different, like 1 and 2, they would get the color and not be linked. Linking is not necessary in free mode because you have 2 channels. It would make things easier in the event that you get like 16 channels of speakers, which is totally real. That being said, let's hit done because this is what I would want to happen when I drag in a brand new audio file. Those audio files from before have defaulted to master at Unity and out 1 and 2 at Unity. If I clicked go on one of these before leveling it out, it could potentially be crazy loud. So we can go set to default levels here. If you highlight all of them, you can set their default levels simultaneously, which is a nice feature. Let's listen to our jungle ambience. I highlight it and press spacebar. You can raise the fader with your mouse or trackpad by punching in numbers. I recommend numbers because my hand has slipped during tech while using a trackpad, and it scares the crap out of everybody and is bad. Looks like this. Whoops. Hope everybody likes loud. Okay, to get out of that, hit escape. So honestly, with a lot of cues like ambiences, you'll want to fade in when they start, and have a cue that automatically fades it out when your board op hears the stage manager. The fade tool is available in free Qlab, hooray! You can go up to cues and find it in the menu here, or you can open up your toolbox from view. There's a hotkey, which appears to be Command 7, lots of different ways. For now, I'm going to drag it from the toolbar. There's a fade cue. It's not assigned to an audio file yet, so I will drag the jungle ambience into the fade cue to associate them. You do that over here. You will see a red X because it's not working. It's not going to work until you tell it a volume, so go to levels. Hit set levels from target to get it to match what the audio file is currently set to. There's this extra window that has lots of options. Default is fine in most cases. Okay, so these are the levels I had set for jungle ambience earlier. It's where I want them to end up, but not where I would want them to begin. If I am fading up, then I would want the original file to start either quiet or all the way out. Okay, it's playing and nothing is making a sound because that's what I told it to do. Let's hit the fade cue. All right, over the course of 3 seconds, it reaches the intended volume. I can change that to be shorter or longer. I would have to listen to it and think of the context in order to make an informed choice on the fade timing. In this case, I'm going to give the jungle ambience a 6-second fade instead. You can click on duration and change it to 6 or 26 or whatever you want. To get out of this cue, I will want another fade cue for fading down to silence. Set your level all the way out, and I'm going to click this button here that says Stop Target when done. The cue name will change and say Fade and Stop, which is a helpful little note. If I didn't click on that button, the track would just keep playing until it ran itself out, which we don't need it to do. So start track, go. Nothing. It is set to negative infinity. Click go again, and it will fade up over the course of 6 seconds. Stage Manager says, standby sound, sound, go. And it will fade and drop over the course of 3 seconds. Cool. And that is a basic transition. But we can further automate it in 2 ways. One is the auto continue feature. It's over here on the right. After you start the track, the fade executes right away, so you don't have to play the silent track and then hit it again to hear it. That's one way. The way I like to do it is with groups. Add a group cue. This one looks like a green box. The green box is a timeline style of group. Anything inside is going to fire at the same time. Instead of using the auto continue, both cues start simultaneously, which achieves pretty much the same thing. Groups can also help keep you organized because cue stacks are often more than one sound file playing at the same time. I made an example of that a couple weeks ago with that rain cue thing. It was 7 different rain files playing into 7 speakers and a customized mix that I built in the space. I'd like to start us off thinking about the structure of top of show. The most common thing is pre-show music. It is not in every show ever, but it is in most shows. The audience has 30 minutes to walk in and take their seats and read the program, so you'd need 30 minutes of music, right? Actually, it's better to default to 45 to 50 minutes of music because at a lot of theaters, we never start on time. Like ever. So it's much safer to do more to account for the people who are still figuring out shit at the box office or in line at the bathrooms. So let's say you have your pre-show music. Here is a playlist I had from James and the Giant Peach. The director asked for fruit music, to which I replied, "Fruit music?" And he said, "Music about or mentioning fruit." So here's my fruit music playlist. Make a group and drag them all in. There is a couple different ways you can do these, and I will go through the ones I do not like and show you why I don't like them. Right now, we're in the timeline group style. That's the green one. Right now, every track is set to start at the exact same time. That would sound fucking terrible, of course, so we're not going to do that. Actually, let's do it anyway. Oh, yeah. Quality. Escape to cut that out. Go to the top part of your group queue and click on the Timeline tab. Here you can manually drag each sound file into one long sequence. Each track can start after the last one ends, like so. As you do that, you'll start to notice that Qlab is automatically assigning pre-waits, as in every file will start at the same time, except this track waits 3 minutes and this track will wait about 5 minutes. And here is my problem with this methodology. It is annoying to rearrange, insert, and delete cues. Let's say the director hated this track. Get rid of it. Okay, cool. Well, that leaves a big gaping hole in the middle. So now I'm going to have to redrag everything so we're in one long sequence. Okay, let's also say we didn't want these tracks in alphabetical order. I want this one to happen before this one, and maybe this track goes after this one. Changing the order in the group will not affect its pre-wait, but then you'll have to manually redrag. Super dumb. That's why I don't use the green group for pre-show, because I have seen it done that way, and I'm like, boo, don't do that. So there's another kind of group that they added 2 years ago, and Figure 53 was patting themselves on the back over it, and I actually low-key kind of hate it. It's called the playlist feature. Cool, now you can drag your files around and it will play in order. That's great, right? Here's where it falls apart for me. You cannot account for awkward audio gaps. You have to listen to the top of the song and the end of the song to make sure there isn't 3 seconds of weird silence or 15 seconds of weird talking at the beginning. Here is an example of a gap in the file. If you are an audience member sitting in a theater with loud music playing that seems to suddenly cut out for 3 seconds, you will probably think the show is starting. Then the next track picks up and it will feel like a mistake happened. You can try to shave that off in the file itself, but that doesn't work for every song, especially ones that end on a slow fade. You want them to transition from one song into the next with an intentional flow. Using the playlist feature and just dumping a bunch of tracks without listening to any of them, and then just letting them play on random, is not just lazy, but it leaves it wide open to sound stupid. So here is how I want you to do it. Blue groups, start first. Here you will add auto continues throughout it manually. You can do it one by one here, or there's a shortcut way to do it over here. Select all of them, and under the Basics tab, select Auto Continue. Right now, it is mimicking the behavior of play all tracks at the same time in green groups, but instead of using pre-waits, we will manually add in post-waits by looking and listening to each track. Go into time and loops and inspect the waveform. This one, for example, looks like the track stops meaningful sound about here. Therefore, on post-wait, I am going to add that time. And I am going to do that for every track. I am going to decide where the end is, and it may differ based on if there's a slow fade or not. Now, I did all that without actually listening to any of it. It will vary slightly if you give it any further scrutiny, but for now, you can order your playlist any way you want it. When the next track begins, it's based on the exact ending of your previous track. It is now easier to reorder, which solves the problem that the green timeline groups had, and it's easier to get more deliberate and specific timing with transitions, which was the problem with playlist groups. Now, let's say I like this order so far. Let's listen to the beginnings. Here is an example of a weird beginning. I would like to get the song going about here instead, because the beginning has a lot of volume dips. Again, you need to spend time listening to how one song gets out and the next song begins. If you take the time to refine it, then it'll be good. My professor Jason Romney had a saying he liked to repeat: you can be good or you can suck. It's your choice. But for your homework, do it the way I'm telling you. You can use the dumbass playlist feature at one of your shows later. I'll just judge the shit out of you if I hear it. Okay, so what happens when we run out of music at the end? We give it a loop. Add a start cue at the very end, and point it back towards the first song. Whichever song that is. And that's a loop, baby. One more thing we need to get out of this. You need to add a fade and stop cue and target the whole group. This often fires with a pre-recorded house announcement while taking out the music. Recording that house announcement will be for next week. This week, I want you to gather 45 minutes of pre-show music. make it follow a theme, as in, these songs are all about science, or songs from 1957 sung exclusively by female vocalists, or Halloween. Have some fun with it. Gather these as audio files. MP3, MP4, WAV, AIFF, other file formats probably. I recommend MP3 for homework and WAV for shows. Program the pre-show playlist in a Blue Start First group and program in the post-wait timing. Listen to all the transitions from one song to the next. Add a start cue at the bottom to loop. Add a fade and stop cue targeting the group. Okay, from there, we would need to turn it into D2L. So go to File, Save your session, and make sure it says Save Workspace and Media into a new project folder. Find that folder and right-click. Hit Compress. That will turn it into one single zip archive file. Turn that into D2L. Make sure you have it saved with the audio files inside and don't just turn in the Qlab programming without any attached audio. If there is no audio, it will look like this, with lots of red X's, and I won't be able to listen to anything you did, and then I will have to ask you to resubmit, and you will have to resubmit. So do that.